Hi and welcome back. This is Gina from McGuire. I hope everyone's New Year is off to a good start. Well, today I'm sharing with you a fun technique that can work with just about any dies you may have, and I call these Hinged Die Cut Greetings. These cards don't open like traditional cards. Instead, the die cut shapes on the front lift open like a flap to reveal a message underneath. I have 3 examples to show you and will give tips for creating this technique with whatever dies you may have. Let's start with the heart-shaped card first. I'm using a new die from Pretty Pink Posh called With Love Shaker Die. Any large die would work here. I just thought this was a beautiful intricate die, so I'm using it along with a bit of coloring. I'm die cutting it from some heavyweight white cardstock. You could use any die cut machine for this. I'm using my Gemini Junior die cut machine because it cuts beautifully. Okay, so after this has run through, you can see how beautifully this die cut that cardstock. It's an intricate die and heavyweight paper, but it cut gorgeous. However, I have all those little bits and pieces from in between the designs still stuck in my die. There are different tools for removing those pieces, but I always go back to using a craft pick to poke through the holes on the back side of the die. However, I wanted to show you a product that many people have asked me about, and this is die release paper. Basically, you put this paper in between your paper and your die whenever you're doing any kind of intricate die cutting, and it helps the paper from not sticking into the die. So here I've got paper, the release paper. I actually folded 2 pieces over. You don't need to do that, and I'll show you that in a moment. Then the die. I'll run it through my die cut machine. And when it comes out, you'll see that the paper in my die comes out very easily this time. So I'm not left with all those little pieces stuck in my die. Sometimes when you use a die a lot, pieces tend to stick in it more. So that's when this die release paper would be handy. And here you can see most of the pieces came out. And just by tapping that die onto my work surface, I can knock the other pieces out of the die easily. Here I put 1 ply of the die release paper in between my cardstock and my die. And you'll see that by tapping the die right onto my die cut machine, all the pieces come out. Now this isn't one of those products that's necessary to have in your craft room, but I've gotten a lot of questions about it. And I get a lot of people asking how to release all those little pieces from large intricate dies. So if you have trouble with that and you want to save some time or energy, you can check out this fun product. So I die cut 4 hearts using this die, and 1 of them is perfectly white, and the other 3 are actually from scrap pieces of cardstock. Sometimes I stamp on white cardstock and am not happy with the results. Instead of throwing them away, I keep them as scraps that I can use for die cutting to stack die cuts behind a pretty one, which you'll see in a moment. Now here's the plain white one that will be the pretty one on top. I put a piece of tape on the back of it just to help me hold it in place. And I put anti-static powder tool around the die cut so that the tape wouldn't hold to my fingers. This is just a way to keep all those intricate die cut pieces in place as I add color to them. So I'm using Copic markers here to add color to the inside of this die cut. However, you could use absolutely any kind of inking or coloring that you would want to here. After I added color to all the flowers and leaves, I have this Molotow liquid chrome pen. I love this pen. I'm coloring over the words with love and also the inside heart that goes around all the flowers. This is a fun silver pen that really gives a nice chrome finish, and it comes out like a paint pen. So this one is very easy to use, and I find it gives really nice results. It reminds me of a heat emboss look without the dimension. After I've done all the coloring on that white die cut, it's time to glue some additional die cuts behind it so that I have some dimension. You don't have to do this, but I love that stacked look. Now these other 3 white die cuts, you'll see that there was some stamping on it when I did my die cutting. You might have noticed that earlier. Now there are many times when I stamp on white cardstock and I'm not happy with the results. I never throw those pieces away. Instead, I save them in a special pile, and whenever I want to stack die cuts behind a pretty one, I use that scrap cardstock because no one will ever see that stamping. So here I'm putting Gina K liquid adhesive onto one of these white die cuts, and I'll glue it right behind our pretty one. And I'll do the same with those other die cuts. You can see those top two ones have lots of stamping on it, but no one will ever see that. This is just a good way to save that cardstock from ending up in the trash can. So I ended up gluing 4 of these die cuts together for a nice stacked look. Okay, once I'm done with this, I need to die cut a heart that is slightly smaller than this die cut. In fact, I need to cut 2 of them. So this is a scrap one of these die cuts. You could see I did some coloring on it. Wasn't happy with the coloring, but I didn't want it to go to waste. So I'm using it here to create a smaller die cut. I'm actually cutting along that faux stitched line, so I end up with a heart that's slightly smaller than our scalloped heart. I'll go ahead and trace this onto some white cardstock. Then I'm going to take another piece of white cardstock and put it behind it, so that when I cut out this heart, I'm actually cutting out 2 hearts that are the same shape and size. So you'll see I'm just cutting right along that pencil line, and I'll end up with 2 hearts that are slightly smaller than that fancy die cut heart that we created before. Okay, so before we assemble our little heart flap with the hidden greeting, it's time to create our background. I'm using the Pretty Pink Posh Bold Bloom stamp set. This is an older one that's smaller, so the price point is great. And it has solid flowers and then outline flowers you can stamp on top. I put 4 of the solid flowers onto an acrylic block, and I'm stamping them with Simon Says Stamp Fog ink onto Simon Says Stamp Fog cardstock, so I'll have a soft gray tone-on-tone background. I'm just turning these and stamping them repeatedly till I cover the entire card. Next, I'll take the outline images that are included in that set and line it up with the first 4 images I stamped onto my cardstock. Once I have them lined up, I'll pick them up with the acrylic block and stamp them with Hero Art's Unicorn White ink. And I'll do this until I cover the entire background. Now I'm not being careful to make sure I line them up perfectly. I want them to be somewhat offset. It gives a fun, playful look. This took me about 5 or 10 minutes to make, but I really like the results in the end, so I feel like it's definitely worth it. Here you can see that white that looks like a highlight on top of that soft gray stamping. Next, it's time to create the hinge feature that allows our heart to flap open so you can see the hidden greeting. For this, you need 2 pieces of acetate. You can use acetate from any packaging so you can recycle, or you can use Hero Art's acetate. So you can see I have 2 strips here that are about a 1/4 inch wide and maybe 2 or 3 inches long. It's hard to see in the video, but I'm trying to hold them here so you can see them. The reason we need 2 pieces for this one is for the 2 top bumps on the heart. I want it so that this opens upward, so I need 2 hinges there on the top. I'll show you how to create this with 1 hinge later in the video. I could do 1 hinge that opens to the side, but I decided to go with 2 at the top. We need to fold our little acetate pieces so that they have feet on the bottom of them. To do so, I'm using my Scor-Buddy, but I found you really don't need to use a scoring tool to do this. You can actually fold the acetate. But in this point, I was using my Scor-Buddy, and I did a score line about 3/4 of an inch from one end. It really doesn't matter how far because we'll trim it down. And I'll do that from the other piece too. So after I have those score lines, I can fold right along where we scored. And what we end up with is what looks like 2 legs with 2 feet on the bottom. These will be the hinge that we put onto the top of our heart so that it can open up. And because we used acetate, you won't see it. If you don't have acetate, you could use pieces of cardstock, but I find this to be more durable. Next, I'm putting 2 pieces of strong double-sided tape at the top of my heart. This is where we will hold the feet of those little acetate pieces that we created. Any super strong adhesive would work here. Okay, so I have my 2 pieces of folded acetate. You can see the little foot there. And I'm putting the foot down onto one top of the heart. And then I'll put the other foot down onto the other top of the heart. This will end up with 2 long pieces of acetate sticking out the top of our heart. It looks kind of silly, but this is all you need to do to make this work. Keep in mind you could do partial die cutting or other tricks to create a flap, but I find that this one keeps the true heart shape and looks the best in the end. Now those feet were a little bit long, so I'm going to trim them off so you don't see them through that intricate heart die cut. But you could leave them if you want to. I think they probably wouldn't be very noticeable. Okay, now remember those two hearts that we created that were slightly smaller than our scalloped heart? I'm going to take one of those and adhere it right to the back of this intricate die cut. This will secure the feet between, sandwich them between, and give a nice backing to our intricate die cut. So here I'm using Gina Connect liquid adhesive because it's strong and fast to apply. And then I'll put the heart on top. Again, the feet of those acetate pieces are sandwiched between. And we end up with 2 pieces of acetate sticking out of the top. Now it's time to add that other heart that we cut out by hand, and this will be where we write our hidden message. I'm trimming my little acetate legs a bit because they were a little long. I didn't need them that long. And on the back of the legs, I'm putting some strong double-sided tape. I'll then take that other heart that we hand cut, lay it on top of this heart that we have the legs sticking out from. I don't have any adhesive on that heart, just laying it in place, lining it up. Then I will press the legs down onto this. And this creates little hinges at the top of the heart that allow our heart die cut to open to reveal a message inside. And that's all there is to it. It looks a little complicated, but as you make it, it's really easy to do. And I have an easier version of this card that I'll show you later in this video. Okay, so now I'm putting adhesive on the back of that heart, and we'll glue this onto our card. I recommend using a strong adhesive because you really want this to stay in place. So I'm gluing that in the center of our stamped gray background. And by the way, that stamped gray background is 4 by 5 1/4. You can see how well those acetate hinges work so that you can easily open up the heart to see the message inside. I'm now gluing this onto a 5 1/2 by 4 1/4 white cardstock panel. So this card doesn't open like a normal card. You could put this on a normal card if you wanted to, but I thought it was fun just to write my personal message right behind the flap. Next, I'm using the new Pretty Pink Posh Party Mix jewels to add little yellow jewels to the center of my flowers. I really like this party mix because lots of colors of gems are included, so you get a good variety. Next, I'm using the Pretty Pink Posh Floral Hearts stamp set. This is a new one where you can stamp the wreath and the center together or separately, and there are lots of fun small sentiments. The price point is great because it's a small set. I stamp the hugs and kisses on the inside, and then I'll write my message right below it. So here's the completed card. You can see how well the hinges work to create that fun hinged die cut greeting design. You can also see how well that liquid chrome pen worked to create that fun shiny silver look to the outline of the heart and the words "with love." You can also see the layering stamping on the background and how those acetate hinges are very hidden. You really can't see them on the final card. Okay, my next example shows how to create a shaker window that actually is a flap that opens up for a hidden greeting. I wanted to show 3 examples in this video because I feel like the more examples you see using this hinged die cut technique, the better you'll be able to do the technique with whatever die cut shapes you may have. Okay, for this one, I'm using the new Pretty Pink Posh Celebrate Shaker Die. Pretty Pink Posh has lots of shaker dies like this, and I really like them, and this is just another way to use them. Now, I die cut 5 of these from white cardstock, and from 4 of them, I'm cutting the word Celebrate out of the center, so that we just have this scalloped frame. I'm saving the Celebrate die cuts for another card. I'm just using the frames on this one. I like that this particular die gives you that option. Now on the back of the die cut that I kept intact, I'm putting strong double-sided tape around the edge of the frame. I then will add some strong liquid adhesive to the back of the Celebrate word itself. I could have put double-sided adhesive on the back of the white cardstock before I die cut the Celebrate frame, but I didn't think about it at the time, so that's why I'm using double-sided tape and liquid adhesive. Next, I have cut a piece of acetate to be slightly smaller than our scallop frame, and I'm putting that right on the back of our die cut. This will be the front of our shaker window. Any acetate will work here, even recycled packaging. Now to the back of this, I'm gluing those frames that we created. This will create the window where we can add some little jewels inside that will shake around. I added 4 frame die cuts behind this. I also cut a piece of that fog cardstock and a piece of white cardstock to be slightly smaller than that scallop frame. Here I have another piece of acetate that's pretty big, and I'm scoring it about 1/4 of an inch from one end. This is so that I can cut a bunch of legs and feet from one piece, so I can continue to make more cards after this video. And believe it or not, I do that because I go a little crazy when I start making cards. I like to make a bunch at once. Okay, so now from that large piece, I can go ahead and cut a few pieces. These are a little bit bigger than 1/4 of an inch wide. But you can see my score line across the top there, and I have my 2 legs ready to go with the feet on the bottom. So I have a piece of strong double-sided tape along the top back of our shaker window, and I'm putting the bottom of the feet of our little acetate pieces right onto that, lining up the score line with the top of our die cut, putting one towards the left and one towards the right. So there you can see the legs sticking off the back of our shaker window. Now it's time to add some jewels or sequins or whatever you want into our shaker window. In this case, I'm doing it upside down. So I'm using pretty pink Posh jewels. They come in a lot of different fun colors. And I'm putting them all in there upside down. You could just shake a bunch of sequins or a little confetti in here, but I love the look of those jewels. After I've filled it, I'm putting some more double-sided tape around the other 3 edges of our shaker window frame. I'll remove the release paper carefully and take that piece of fog cardstock that we cut to be slightly smaller than the shaker window and put it right on the back. So now we have this fun shaker window with those jewels shaking inside. I like the soft colors that I used on this one. This is going to be a happy engagement card, so I thought it was a nice touch. For the background, I used the new Pretty Pink Posh Pinata Party stamp set. This has lots of fun birthday and celebration images, but I'm just using the small confetti cluster, and I'm stamping that with Simon Says Fog ink on Simon Says Stamp Fog cardstock. So this will give a nice soft look for the background of our card. Next, I cut my little acetate legs down a bit. They were a little long. And then I put some strong double-sided tape on the back of the legs. This is exactly like we did before with the heart. And then I will take the other white rectangle that we cut, slightly smaller than our scallop frame, lay that in place, and then fold the legs down onto it. This creates our really easy to use hinge that will hold nicely no matter how many times they open the card. Now on the back of this piece, we'll use strong double-sided tape again. You could use strong liquid adhesive if you prefer. And we'll put that right onto the center of our stamped background. Finally, I'll glue this onto a white piece of cardstock that is cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And again, this isn't a normal note card. To see the message inside, they just lift that Celebrate Shaker flap. I think this design is extra fun because when they open the flap, that shaker moves around, so all those little bits and pieces move around. So this is a fun new way to create a shaker card. Now under that flap, I wrote my little personal message to my friend, and the flap will kind of stick up at first from those acetate hinges, but once it's gone through the mail, it'll lay nice and flat and only open slightly so the recipient knows to open it up. I hope that my examples in this video show that you can create this hinged greeting card design using just about any large die cut shape you may have. If you don't have a die cut machine, you could cut rectangles instead. Now in my last example, I show how to use a circle die cut with one hinge to create this card design. If you don't have circle dies, you can always trace the lip of a glass or a cup and cut it out by hand. Now for this one, I wanted to start with some color on my paper before die cutting. So I used the same colors of Copic markers that I used earlier, and I just blended them together on white cardstock. You could do this much faster by using ink and some sort of inking tool, but I had my Copics out. I liked the colors that I used, so I wanted to use the same. I used the Pretty Pink Posh Hugs die. This is another one of their word shaker dies. Came out a while ago, and I die cut from that inked area. And I'm keeping the extra pieces so I can do a fun inlay technique later on. Next, I'm spraying these with Shimmer Spritz so that it has lots of shimmer to it. You can instead use a shimmer pen if you wanted. I die cut a white circle to be slightly smaller than our scallop circle, and I'm gluing that right to the back. This just gives it a solid backing so we can do our fun technique. Next, I am die cut another of the hugs die cut from white cardstock, took all the extra pieces and glued them inlaid into our colored ones. For the background, I used the Carta Perfect Stripe embossing folder on some Simon Says Stamp Fog cardstock. It gives some great textured stripes to the background. For this one, I'm only using one acetate hinge. So I have a piece of acetate that I just folded about a 1/2 inch from the end, and I end up with the little foot and the leg, just like we did before, but this time we only created one. This time I'm putting some double-sided tape on the bottom of my acetate foot. So you can see it's right on the bottom of the feet. That way I can look from the front to make sure I put this at the top of our circle die cut. So I'm gluing the foot to the back of the die cut at the top. And there you can see we have the leg sticking up. Just in this case, we have one leg instead of two. So now I'm putting some double-sided tape on the back of this piece, and I'll put one of our die cut circles that's slightly smaller on top of this. This will sandwich that little foot of the acetate between. Then finally we have one more step for this little flap design. We're going to put that double-sided tape on the back of the leg. I used 2 pieces here, but you could use 1 if you wanted to. Then we take our other white circle, lay it down. Then we lay the leg down onto that to attach it. And there we have our little fun flap feature. It does work fine with one of the little hinges, but I do recommend 2 if it's possible. With the circle, I felt 1 worked better because then you don't see the hinge as much. But if you're doing a heart where you can do 2 hinges, or a square or rectangle, I would recommend doing that. That way you can make sure that it opens and closes nicely. I put adhesive on the back of the circle, and I've added it to our embossed background. And finally, we can glue this onto a piece of white cardstock. So my gray piece is 4 by 5 1/4, and my white panel is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it's slightly larger. Here you can see the fun shimmer that I have on that colored die cut, and I also added a few of the pretty pink Posh jewels. In the inside, I stamped a small sentiment and wrote a personal message. So you can see that this technique is a great way to get more out of any large die cuts that you may have, and such a fun alternative to a traditional card opening. Before we go, I wanted to show you one other new product from Pretty Pink Posh that I think is fantastic and great for hidden greetings. This is the Pretty Pink Posh Decorative Tags 2 die. That outline frame and the shutters are actually 2 separate dies, but I die cut them together. So you could put this on the front of the card and have a hidden message or a hidden little critter or stamped image behind it. So this is another fun way to create a unique card opening. I just ran out of time to use it, but you can see how great it would be to create that hidden message card. Remember, you could create the shutters just on the front of a card panel without the frame, or you could use the frame itself. So I hope to use this in another video very soon. Such a fun product. Okay, so if you are interested in these supplies, I have them linked below in my YouTube description. I hope these cards inspire you to try this technique. It's a great way to stretch your supplies. In the middle are a couple other related videos you might like. Be sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And I hope you have a great new year. Thanks for spending time with me, and we'll see you soon.